Erik Jones gets some support from an unlikely ally, and Noah Gragson might be teasing the biggest free agent bombshell of the 2020 season. We've got a lot to get to. How's it going, y'all? My name is Erik, and welcome to Out of the Groove. Hope you all are having a fantastic Wednesday. We do have a lot of NASCAR free agency, silly season stuff to get to in this episode, but before we get too far into things, we have to thank today's fantastic sponsor. LubeGuard is back once again, makers of Cool It evaporator and heater foam cleaner. Cool It works in all vehicles, including hybrid and electric. Application is fast and easy, no tools required. It leaves a clean, fresh, and long-lasting scent. Cool It removes contaminants and maximizes HVAC efficiency. You can pick up some Cool It at O'Reilly Auto Parts, of course, Amazon.com, and Walmart. LubeGuard and Cool It are huge supporters of Out of the Groove, huge supporters of NASCAR and all forms of racing. And so today's episode is presented by International Lubricants Incorporated, makers of LubeGuard, the world's finest lubricant. So again, a huge thank you to LubeGuard for being a recurring sponsor of the show. Now let's get to the news. We'll start with some news, and then we're going to talk about Noah Gragson dropping some serious hints on Twitter, kind of sending the entire social media NASCAR world into a storm earlier this afternoon. But we'll start with some actual news. Bob Pockrass from Fox Sports says today on Twitter that he reached out to a spokesperson for Michael Jordan, and the spokesperson said that there is no truth to the rumors that Michael Jordan is planning on buying into Richard Petty Motorsports. That has been the hot rumor the last several days. We talked about it on this show. I heard it was mentioned on Door Bumper Clear, part of Dale Jr.'s Dirty Mo Media, and it's been talked about in a few other places. And of course, now you have Bob Pockrass doing some research for it. Now, this certainly puts a damper on those rumors that Michael Jordan, the GOAT of the NBA, might be investing into NASCAR or into Richard Petty Motorsports. It certainly puts some of that speculation to rest, at least for the time being. But what is still known is that Richard Petty Motorsports has talked to Toyota about a possible manufacturer switch. They believe that would be enough to convince Bubba Wallace to sign an extension and take over a higher ownership stake of the team. Switching to Toyota, getting more competitive in the short term, Richard Petty Motorsports is certainly interested, and they've certainly had those conversations. And per multiple reports now across the board, Denny Hamlin has been involved in some of those discussions. Again, not clear exactly what Denny Hamlin's involvement would be with Richard Petty Motorsports. Of course, he posted and then deleted the photo a couple days ago on his Instagram story of him wearing a Toyota and Michael Jordan brand t-shirt or polo shirt, teasing at something potentially big coming on down the line. Now, while this likely means Michael Jordan himself isn't necessarily involved in this deal, that doesn't mean that the Jordan brand, which of course is a subsidiary of Nike, and they have a personal deal with Denny Hamlin, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Jordan brand isn't involved. They still very well could be. Nike could be involved, something like that. It does now sound less likely that Michael Jordan is going to be very hands-on in supporting a NASCAR Cup Series race team, but crazy things can happen. I mean, what's the spokesperson going to say there? Oh yes, Bob Pockrass, Michael Jordan is talking to Richard Petty Motorsports. I know, of course, he's going to keep it hush-hush, but certainly maybe put some of those rumors to rest for the time being. But boy, we had some fun talking about those rumors, didn't we? I'm just saying, we got people from Fox Sports addressing these rumors, but now let's get to some actual news. So Erik Jones is right now one of the highest profile free agent NASCAR Cup Series drivers on the market. A few weeks back, he was notified by Joe Gibbs Racing that he would not be returning to the 20 car in 2021. So Jones is now looking for a ride. He's been heavily linked to Hendrick Motorsports as a possible replacement for Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, but we haven't heard anything the last couple weeks about if those talks have gone anywhere, so it's unclear if he is still the leading candidate at the 48 car. But with many cars around the Cup Series likely searching for new drivers, of course Chip Ganassi likely has an open spot. Richard Petty Motorsports might have an open spot depending on what Bubba Wallace does. We know Tony Stewart and Stewart-Haas Racing are looking to fill possibly one of their seats because Clint Boyer is a free agent. Eric Almirola's situation is still somewhat unknown. The Wood brothers, we don't know what's happening with Matt Benedetto over there. There are a lot of question marks. There are a lot of potentially open rides in the Cup Series. So Erik Jones might have a lot of options, but there's no doubt that the last few weeks have probably been very difficult for Erik Jones. For one, he's been let go from Toyota, from Joe Gibbs Racing, the only team he's known in his still relatively young NASCAR career. Of course, he came up with them through the Truck Series. He came up with them in the Xfinity Series. He's raced 4 years in the Cup Series now with TRD and in Toyota equipment. Now, for the first time in his Cup Series career, Erik Jones is pretty much on his own. Now, I thought this was interesting. Erik Jones spoke to media members early on Tuesday, and Erik Jones said that Joey Logano actually reached out to him during the Michigan doubleheader weekend a few weeks back. From Erik Jones, Joey and I met for lunch that week, and it was a good chat. We sat there for an hour, hour and a half, and kind of talked about what he went through at JGR, and obviously he got moved on from JGR as well, around the same age that I was, and had to find a different opportunity. So it was really interesting to hear what he went through, and then what changed for him. Really found that interesting that Joey Logano, a fellow competitor, a driver who since he's left Joe Gibbs Racing has not had a great relationship with some of the drivers that race at Joe Gibbs Racing. The fact that he went out of his way to reach out to Erik Jones and actually sit down and have a meaningful conversation with them honestly kind of blew me away. Of course, as Erik Jones mentions in that quote right there, about 8 years ago, Joey Logano found himself in the exact same, almost the exact same situation Erik Jones is in now. Remember, Joey Logano made his full-time NASCAR Cup Series debut for Joe Gibbs Racing in 2009. At the start of that year, Logano was only 18 years old, and he got a win in his rookie season at Loudon. It was a rain-shortened race, but overall, Joey Logano's rookie season, he was 20th in points, didn't have a great year. In Joey Logano's 4 years in the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing, he won 2 races, but he missed the playoffs each year. His highest points finish was 16th. So at the end of the 2012 season, Joe Gibbs Racing let Joey Logano walk away in favor of Matt Kenseth. Logano ended up landing with Team Penske, where he took over the 22 car. And that first year with Penske in 2013, Joey Logano grabbed a win, he made the playoffs, and he finished a career best 8th in the standings. Now, since Joey Logano began with Team Penske in 2013. He has 23 Cup Series wins. He's made the playoffs all but once during his tenure with Penske, and of course he won the 2018 Cup Series championship. So it's safe to say things worked out pretty well for Joey Logano after Joe Gibbs Racing basically cut ties with him. But there are a lot of similarities, as you can tell from what I just said, between Joey Logano's tenure with Joe Gibbs Racing and Erik Jones's tenure. Now, Logano, like I said, was 18 years old when he was given the 20 car, supposed to replace Tony Stewart in 2009. That's a tall task. And sure, in his 4 years with Joe Gibbs Racing, Joey Logano never lived up to what Tony Stewart was able to do, and in some ways, I think, did not live up to the lofty expectations put on him. Yes, everyone knew he was extremely young, really raw, did not have a whole lot of experience, but people knew he was talented and were a bit disappointed that he could only muster up 2 wins, one being a rain-shortened win, in 4 years with the team. Erik Jones now has spent 4 years with Toyota, TRD. Of course, only 3 of them have actually been with Joe Gibbs Racing. His rookie season was Furniture Row, a Joe Gibbs satellite team. But similar to Logano, he's now in his 4th year with TRD. He has 2 wins to his credit, Daytona in 2018 and Darlington last year. Now, Erik Jones has qualified for the playoffs twice in his first 3 years, and this year it looks shaky. He might have to win this weekend to get in, but he's qualified for the playoffs twice. But that being said, he's never made it out of the first round. His highest points finish is 15th. I mean, it's almost identical to Logano's numbers back in 2012. So a lot of similarities. Both drivers, I know Jones is in his 4th year. He hasn't finished his 4th year yet, but both drivers at the end of their TRD Toyota tenures will have 4 years driving for Toyota in the Cup Series. Logano had 2 wins. Jones is at 2 wins right now, and the way they've run this year, I don't see them grabbing a win this season, so they're probably going to end up with a similar number of wins. And Logano's best points finish was 16th. Jones was 15th 2 years ago, and I don't think he's going to top that this year, unless he wins at Daytona this weekend, but he could surprise me. So 2 drivers who end their Joe Gibbs Racing careers with almost identical numbers. Now, Erik Jones is being booted from the 20 car, not because Joe Gibbs doesn't like Erik Jones and is ready to give up on him. Joe Gibbs was put in a very difficult decision. JGR had to pick between Erik Jones or Christopher Bell. With Levine Family Racing announcing a few weeks back that they are going to shut down at the end of the season, Toyota is limited now to only 4 TRD-backed seats. I know Gaunt Brothers and other teams are technically Toyotas, but there's only 4 TRD, Toyota Racing Development teams, and that's Joe Gibbs Racing. That's the 4 JGR cars. Christopher Bell was already under contract with Toyota. He had signed a 3-year deal before this year. The first 2 were supposed to be with Levine. Year 3 was supposed to be Joe Gibbs Racing, but in theory, their contract was still good beyond this year, even though Levine Family Racing was going away. Erik Jones, in a contract year, they were going to have to sit down and negotiate a brand new contract, and it might have been difficult for them to break out of that Christopher Bell deal. It really wasn't much of a decision for Joe Gibbs Racing. Christopher Bell was kind of the obvious choice at this point, especially with Erik Jones not living up to expectations so far in 2020. I've been vocal on this show. I don't think it's all Jones. I think the team itself, I think Chris Gale, the pit crew's been in shambles all year. I think there's a lot of issues with that 20 car just in general, but Erik Jones has certainly not gotten the most out of his equipment this year. So a driver change in favor of Christopher Bell, who is no slouch, mind you, not entirely shocking. But focusing again on that Joey Logano, Erik Jones conversation, what kind of advice Joey Logano might be able to give Erik Jones? I mean, much like Erik Jones, Joey Logano was really good in Xfinity, really good coming up through the ranks. Erik Jones won a championship in the Truck Series and should have won the Xfinity championship in 2016. If that one car was at Colwitt, if he doesn't stay out on the final restart, that's probably Jones's championship that year. Choose rule was just 4 years too late. But it would have been really interesting to hear more of what Joey Logano had to say to Erik Jones, because Joey Logano obviously kind of got booted from JGR, but landed in a place and made it work. Joey Logano is arguably the best driver at Team Penske right now. He's already a Cup Series champion, and he's still very young compared to most of his competition. He could win several more championships down the road in his career. Joey Logano has established himself as a NASCAR superstar, which in 2012, nobody saw that coming. I don't think anyone was really that excited about what Logano was going to do elsewhere. We all knew he had talent, but he had not shown the performance people were expecting during his JGR tenure. And I don't know, he kind of shocked the world since 2013. Can Erik Jones do the same thing? I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Erik Jones. Mainly because, well, for one, we don't know where he's going to land next season. Hendrick Motorsports is an option potentially, but is the 48 car better than the 20? No, I don't think so. Another option is the Chip Ganassi Racing, but is the 42 car better than the 20? Again, I don't really think so. If he lands at Stewart-Haas Racing, which I haven't seen any connection between Gene Haas, Tony Stewart, and Erik Jones up to this point. I don't think they're looking at Erik Jones for the 14 or for one of their empty spots. I don't see that happening, but that would be a good car. I think there he'd land somewhere and could maybe make something happen. But there's a very real possibility that if Erik Jones wants to stick around in the NASCAR Cup Series next year, he could be more or less stuck going to a team like Front Row Motorsports or JTG Doherty Racing, or maybe he lands at a Richard Petty Motorsports or a Wood Brothers. Maybe, I don't see that happening, but maybe something like that happens. And anyway, none of those cars I just mentioned are better than the 20 car. As many issues as they may have had this season, that's still a Joe Gibbs Racing funded car. It's hard to get much better than that. But I do have faith in Erik Jones. I think if you put him in a competitive car next year, he will get better results. He will be more consistent than he was at Joe Gibbs this year. I think he just needs a change of scenery. But Erik Jones is not the biggest personality. He doesn't bring a whole lot of his own funding compared to some other drivers out there. So it might be difficult for Erik Jones to land a competitive ride next season, but I will hold out faith. I think it's possible. I think team owners would be making a huge mistake if they don't at least call Erik Jones here over the next several weeks, but I guess only time will tell. Now, Jones also had this to say regarding the Joey Logano meeting a few weeks back. He said, obviously he, Logano, went from not being 100% competitive where he wanted to be at JGR to being obviously a champion after he left. So I kind of wanted to know what switched for him and what really clicked for him after he left. It was just interesting. It was an enlightening conversation. I thought I learned a lot from him and what he went through. So we'll see what happens to Erik Jones. I really do hope he lands in a competitive Cup Series ride next year, but times are crazy. We'll see what happens. And speaking of crazy, get ready for another curveball that might be thrown our way here. Just before I hit record this afternoon, Noah Gragson, current driver for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series, he has 2 wins this year, driving that number 9 car. He tweeted, pen emoji. That's it. That's it. What does one do with a pen? Well, yes, he's probably signing something, and knowing Noah Gragson, I don't know if master of subtlety is the right word, but he likes to play little games. He likes to tease things here and there. He likes to mess with our minds a little bit. He likes to have fun, and he likes to make an impression wherever he goes. So Noah Gragson, he knows exactly what he's doing right there, tweeting out a little pen emoji. Sounds to me like Noah has signed something. Maybe he just signed some diecast. Maybe he signed some hero cards to send to fans. But more than likely, this means he has signed an agreement for the 2021 season. Now, for months, and we even talked to Noah Gragson a few weeks back on the show. He doesn't know what his plan was going to be beyond this season. I think in a lot of ways, and he told us on the show, he just wanted to return to Junior Motorsports and keep a go at and keep growing, keep learning. As of just a few weeks ago, Noah Gragson's goal was to obviously run for a championship this year and then hopefully earn the right to stay in that 9 car for at least another season and continue to run for Xfinity championships with Junior Motorsports. So what contract might Noah Gragson have signed? Keep in mind, the 48 car still does not have a driver for next season. And while so many rumors have pointed to Erik Jones in recent weeks, Jones has been a free agent for multiple weeks now, and we have heard nothing new. You would think they would have had a conversation. Some sort of progress would be being made. Erik Jones, just in those last quotes, still sounded a bit unsure about his future. Rick Hendrick has reportedly changed his priorities for who he was going to put in the 48 car. Originally, early in the year, he said he wanted to put a veteran in the 48 car, someone to kind of coach some of their younger drivers. They still got William Byron, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman. I know they've had some success, but they are all still very young compared to the rest of the Cup Series field. Jimmy Johnson's kind of the older drivers. The rumor was that he wanted a veteran in that car, which is why Brad Keselowski was at the tip of everyone's tongue there for several months. But in the last several weeks, last couple months, the tune has changed. Rick Hendrick has said, oh no, maybe I want a young driver, budget cuts, money is tight. Let's go with an up-and-coming driver, perhaps. That's the words that everyone seems to be hearing coming out of Hendrick Motorsports, so a lot of people turn to Erik Jones, knowing that his future was unclear. Rumors that they might go after Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace brings some sponsorship. There's other drivers out there. But what if this pen emoji means Noah Gragson is going to Hendrick Motorsports to replace Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car? That's just speculation on my part, but I don't think Noah Gragson would tweet such a thing unless he had a major deal to announce. Now, this major deal might just be, an extension with Junior Motorsports, because that would be pretty cool. That's a championship level Xfinity team. It'd be great for Noah Gragson to continue to learn, continue to compete, continue to win. But maybe there's more. Maybe there's more to it. I know Noah Gragson has some pretty tight connections with his sponsors. A lot of his sponsors really like him, like Bass Pro Shops, like Black Rifle Coffee. Not sure what a couple of the other ones are, but I know he has some good relationships with sponsors. Maybe he's bringing some funding to Hendrick Motorsports next year. I don't know. Keep an eye on your notifications the next few weeks. We might see something crazy being announced very shortly. We'll have to get Noah Gragson on the show again here sometime soon. Maybe he can talk about this deal, whatever it may or may not be, and maybe we can get something out of him. But just wanted to plant that seed right there. Another huge wrench might be thrown into this year's silly season. Now, personally, and I'll say this, even as someone who no, I like Noah Gragson. I've gotten to talk to him a couple times. He's a good guy. Aggressive driver, makes some aggressive mistakes sometimes, but he's not a bad dude. At least he's got personality. I'll give him that. I personally don't know that Noah Gragson is ready to make the jump to the Cup Series. He's had a very good year in Xfinity this year. I would say he's impressed me this season, but is he ready to make the jump into the Cup Series? Is he going to make Hendrick Motorsports better next year? I don't think so. I just don't think he's ready quite yet. But hey, the best way to learn is by doing. And the Cup Series is a completely different animal from the Xfinity Series. So if he brings some funding to the table, he's going to have some other drivers to lean on, like Byron, like Chase Elliott, like Bowman, some smart drivers there. He's going to have guys like Chad Knaus still in the organization to bounce ideas off of. This might be great for him long term, but I really don't know. I will certainly be holding my breath, I guess, until we get an official announcement. But we'll wait and see on that one. That's all I've got for today's episode. Got some more stuff to hit on probably in tomorrow's episode. We got some more to talk about before the final regular season race at Daytona Saturday night. We also have a live stream tomorrow night. We'll be live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time right here on this channel. We'll be talking to William Byron, actually, about his chances of making the playoffs. Big weekend coming up for William Byron, so we'll talk to him. Hope you guys are looking forward to that because that's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, y'all, thank you for watching this episode. Subscribe if you are new. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Of course, a huge thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters right here. Could not do this show without your fantastic support, so thank you all for being amazing supporters of Out of the Groove. Really means a lot to me. And of course, another big thank you to our sponsor, LubeGuard, makers of Cool It. Be sure to pick up some Cool It at O'Reilly Auto Parts, Amazon.com, and Walmart. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day. I will see you again tomorrow. Stay safe out there, everyone. Take care.